On May 15, 1948, one day after Israel declared independence, 5 Arab states, Egypt, Transjordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, announced a military intervention against Israel and began sending troops into Palestine. Religious leaders in the region framed the conflict as a jihad, while Arab governments declared their aim was the protection of Palestinians and the restoration of order. Thus began the First Arab-Israeli War, also known as the First Middle East War or the Palestine War. Israel refers to it as the War of Independence. This was the first full-scale military confrontation between the Arab world and Israel after World War II. In fact, fighting had already begun before Britain ended its mandate over Palestine and before Israel's official declaration of statehood. By late 1947, the Arab Liberation Army formed, under Syrian leadership and composed of volunteers from several Arab countries, had been engaged in continuous clashes with Jewish forces such as the Haganah. Once Israel declared independence and the Arab states intervened militarily, the conflict changed in nature from local fighting between Jews and Arabs within Palestine to a full-scale regional war between Israel and neighboring Arab states. The Arab League announced that the intervention was only a temporary occupation aimed at the liberation of Palestine, after which the Palestinian people would decide their own political future. Early stage of the war, Arab advantages. At the outbreak of the war, the Arab coalition held clear superiority in heavy equipment, though the manpower balance was tighter than often portrayed. They deployed a total of about 40,000 troops. Iraq, 10,000 Egypt, 8,000 Transjordan, 7,500 Syria, 5,000 Lebanon, 2,000 Palestinian Arab forces, 2,500 Arab Liberation Army, volunteers 5,000. Their equipment included more than 40 tanks, about 150 aircraft, and nearly 200 armored vehicles. Transjordan's King Abdullah served as the overall commander of the Arab forces, but aside from his own Arab Legion, he had little practical control over the other armies. The Arab Legion was the best trained and best equipped Arab force, commanded by British officers. A coordinated strategy had been drafted: Lebanon and Syria, attack from the north Transjordan and Iraq, advance westward toward Haifa, Egypt, advance north toward Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. However, once the war began, each state pursued its own interests, and the unified plan quickly collapsed. Initial Arab offensive. With equipment advantages, the Arab armies launched rapid offensives. Egypt pushed northward toward Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Iraq crossed the Jordan River, advancing to within 10 miles of the Mediterranean. The Arab Legion captured the West Bank and the Old City of Jerusalem. Syrian and Lebanese forces pushed south from the north. The young state of Israel faced an extremely dangerous situation: Israel's resistance and equipment shortages. The provisional Israeli government mobilized all available manpower. Heavy weapons were almost non-existent. Tanks, only 1 aircraft. Just over 20 light planes armored vehicles. Only 2 firearms were scarce. Fewer than half of the 30,000 Haganah members even had rifles. However, Jewish leaders had long prepared by secretly purchasing weapons abroad and expanding domestic production. Meanwhile, massive aid from global Jewish communities began pouring in. Israel also successfully purchased key weaponry from Czechoslovakia. With the arrival of arms and new immigrants, Israel's manpower grew rapidly. But what truly sustained the Israeli army was a harsh, simple reality. If they lost, they had nowhere to retreat. Defeat meant the destruction of their state, possibly of their nation itself. This sense of fighting with their backs to the wall kept morale extremely high. The situation before the first truce. Between May 16th and June 11th, the war lasted 4 intense weeks. Israel halted the Egyptian advance toward Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. In central areas, heavy battles were fought with the Arab Legion for control of Jerusalem. Eventually, after severe losses, Israel secured control of the new city of Jerusalem. In the north, the Jewish communities were better organized and defended, and Iraqi, Syrian, and Lebanese advances were soon contained. Still, the situation remained grave. Within 4 weeks, Israel had lost nearly 1,200 soldiers. Prime Minister Ben-Gurion appealed to the United States for help in securing a truce to buy precious time. UN intervention and first truce on May 30th. The United Nations passed a resolution calling for a 4-week ceasefire and appointed Count Folke Bernadotte of Sweden as mediator. The truce took effect on June 11th. During the ceasefire, both sides hurried to reinforce their forces, but Israel's efforts were far more effective. Israel acquired aircraft, including Messerschmitts, tanks, and artillery, and rapidly trained new recruits. By the end of the truce, Israel's total mobilized force had grown significantly, beginning to outnumber the Arab armies. The Arab states, restricted by British arms embargoes, struggled to procure weapons in Europe at slow, inefficient rates. Their morale steadily declined, and internal divisions worsened. Egypt's King Farouk aimed to elevate his status. Palestinian leader al-Husseini sought to form his own government. Transjordan's King Abdullah attempted to annex Arab Palestine. Syria also sought territorial gains. Lebanon and Iraq showed little enthusiasm. These rivalries crippled coordinated military strategy. Internal consolidation in Israel. Formation of the IDF at Israel's founding, several independent Jewish armed groups remained: the Haganah, Irgun, and Lehi. Ben-Gurion insisted that Israel must have a single national army. On May 26th, Israel formally established the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, and ordered all groups to integrate. Irgun and Lehi initially resisted. This resulted in the infamous Altalena Affair. On June 20th, the Irgun attempted to unload a private shipment of weapons near Tel Aviv. Ben-Gurion, fearing a civil war or a coup, ordered the ship to be shelled. It sank, causing dozens of casualties and shaking the nation. Soon after, Lehi members assassinated UN Mediator Count Bernadotte in Jerusalem. They believed his new peace plan, which proposed forcing Israel to give up the Negev desert and allow Arab refugees to return, threatened the state's existence. The assassination provoked international outrage. Under immense pressure, the Irgun disbanded, and its members joined the IDF individually. The Palmach was also formally integrated in October. Thus, all factional militias were dissolved, and the IDF was fully unified.